baby. Nasty bitch. Yo, that's what I'm talking.
Interesting day at the racetrack for sure. If you look at the little freeze frame I just had a moment ago, we decided to check transmission fluid before we made a pass, and there's a little bit of reasoning behind it. I try to be very transparent on this channel, but there's some stuff, like there's so much stuff going on, a lot of stuff doesn't get told to you guys, so you guys don't get like the full picture, you just get like 10% of what's actually happening. So as you guys know, we've been testing Slick Rick, we've been making progress with it. We have been fighting some like odd issues with the car, like it doesn't want to accelerate when you release the button. It's got no G to it, so we're having to not pull any timing off the initial hit and then pull some once the power comes, or once the car starts moving, because it's just acting weird. So we've just been doing that. We tested down in South Carolina. That's how it worked. We actually tested and ran a little bit up in Maryland, and it was just doing the same thing. It was doing the same thing where you let go of the button and the G meter just doesn't come up. It just kind of like rolls out and then it'll come up. So the last pass in Maryland, when I went to back up, I grabbed the trans brake and it chattered the trans brake a couple times. Like it hit it, I'm holding the button down and it hit it like 1, then it came off, and then 2, and then it came off, and then 3, and then it actually like fully engaged. And I'm like, well, that's weird. Pulled it in the beams, it held the trans brake, and I went down and through. But in my mind, I was like, it's 400. We should probably check trans fluid. If you'll notice, after that pass, Logan had like a big gulp cup, and he's like, oh, look, we got a strawberry smoothie. And I'm just like, what the hell is that? He's like, it's transmission fluid. And I'm like, damn. Little did I know, it's been puking transmission fluid into the catch can every pass. So when we get to the track here, you see we fired it up. I Mason pulled the dipstick out of the transmission. These 400, you pull them in first gear, and that's how you set your fluid level. And the dipstick was bone dry, and I say to myself, I'm like, oh shit, that's not good, because I have no idea how long. So I asked everyone, how long has this thing been puking fluid? And they're like, it's been puking fluid for every pass. So we go and get some trans fluid, fire it up, pull in gear. I pour 4 quarts into this thing, and it just shows up on the bottom of the dipstick, and I'm like, holy shit, dude, that's not good. Pour another quart in there, and then it's full. And on these 400s, you pretty much just overfill them. Whenever they don't want, they put into the catch can. So I end up calling Mickey, because it's an M&M transmission, M&M converter. I'm like, hey, did I hurt this thing? And he's like, no, the way we build our transmissions, it will starve the converter first. So you're just going to have like a super loose converter. And I'm like, great. So I guess it's going to act different. And he's like, yep, it's going to act different. So all this data that we just gathered of the car going down track, useless data, because it was like having 5 dumps on, because the converter was just like empty. So all of our tune-ups, I didn't realize how big of a change this was until, I guess, the day after, because this day at the track that you guys are about to watch was hell, because all of the data that we've been gathering for the past 9-10 laps, useless. But one thing that I did see, which was different, is the G meter just kept falling off hard. And I'm like, dude, this thing makes so much power, the G meter should not be falling off. Well, it was falling off because there was no fluid in the converter, and it was like the dumps were all on. It's like we were adding dumps as it went down track. The last pass here, we finally get to pull off, because I'm just like, dude, maybe the tune-ups are no good because the converter's jacked up, and that seems to be true. But when I put a little bit of power in it out back, it made peak G way higher than it's ever pulled on the start line before, because we couldn't get it to make G on the start line. It made peak G, like, it pulled 3 Gs at like 2 seconds, where before, I mean, it would leave and like max G would be like 2.2, and then it would start falling off, which I'm just like confused, because I'm like, this thing makes horsepower. So it was a extremely rough day. I expect to see the comments of everybody knowing exactly how to do it, because it is so easy and everyone's done it before. But I guess that's just some backstory. We're going to fill it up with fluid here in a second, and you'll see us start making licks. Just for reference, like before, when I can't tell times with this car, but I can tell G, the G meter. Pretty much a lot of guys are like tuning off the G meter, and I mean, I think it's a pretty good way to tune. You try to get as much G and carry it out as far as you can, and you'll go as fast as you can. So, like for instance, the Black Sheep, well, you click the button, it'll pull 2.8 Gs, and it'll carry it for a little bit. You can pull up to 3 of the track's really good, you know, so that's where we're at. The most G I could get out of Slick Rick is 2.2. It doesn't make any sense. So in the tune-up, right, if this is like flat line here is 0 timing, we pull timing, right? So we're going to pull 12 degrees, right? So you have like it comes down to 12 degrees, and then you ride 12 degrees, and then you put it back in. We would literally leave on no degrees out, and then we'd pull like 7 degrees, 6 degrees, 5 degrees, and that would be our launch retard. Now, like, you literally have to pull it off the hit, because the converter grabs, and it makes so much G. Like, essentially, the tune-ups that you're about to see me try to leave on the first couple times, they would have gone like 0.6 60 foots, because before we were doing it with literally no converter. So it's just, if it ain't one thing, it's another. We made a bar angle change. The shock data looks way better with this bar angle, but when you're out there chasing your tail around these converter being low and no transmission fluid in it, it's not ideal. So I did talk to Mark, and he said that is kind of normal on like big block turbo applications or larger. The converter charge outlet temperature is so high that it's going to put a lot in the catch can, so we just need to sit there and babysit it, and that's just how it is. So I didn't know that. Now I do. So now I'm draining that catch can myself to see where all that fluid's going. So. What is up, y'all? Back at the racetrack, doing what we do best lately, testing, getting our laps in, trying to get better. We got some racing possibly this weekend, definitely next weekend. We're just out here trying to do a little bit better. I haven't updated the description with our new shop address, but I will. We moved over to Benson, North Carolina. You guys obviously know the new shop's badass.
guys, feel free if you guys want more content, better footage, send me these. Send me 64 gig micro SD cards, you know, Amazon, just send them right to me. Put a little funny letter on there. You know, running these methanol race cars, fuel will be expensive, so I need all the help I can get, if you know what I'm saying. But we are out here just trying to make a lick. If you guys saw the last video, we made a bar adjustment change, and we pulled one of the sides of the floater apart because it was leaking. We weren't able to get a seal for it. Patched it back up, so we should be good. We're gonna keep an eye on it after every pass. But we made that bar change, so we're really looking to see what it does with the shock data, what the car tries to do, if it tries to wheelie, how it tries to drive. I moved that top bar up one hole, pushing the instant center out and further up. So we're gonna go ahead and get ready. Track is hot. The tune-up that's in the car should go down in the heat of the day, I like to think. It's not really super aggressive. The air is, compared to Maryland, the air's trash right now, super hot and humid. So it's gonna make less power on the start line, which I'm good with that. And the real thing here is to see what the shock data looks like and how the car acts down track. I think why it kept shaking the tires, it didn't have any leverage on the rear end as it's going down track. So that bar angle change hopefully fixes that. I don't know all of this stuff. I'm learning. So you guys are watching me learn. I love when you guys comment. And your input is greatly appreciated. I like to see what everyone's thinking. Some people were commenting that they're like, hey, you know, lower the bottom bar one hole. Well, we already tried that. When you lowered the bottom bar one hole, it just would not separate, even with the soft valve pack. So right now we're on the medium valve pack. Hey, Logan, we have that other valve pack with us?
Nope. It's in the other trailer? It's in the other trailer top drawer.
Yeah, I meant to get it.
If you need those, we're way fucking off.
Well, I got. How many clicks we got? We're
at 10.
No, we're at 12 or 13.
We should have a lot.
Yeah, I think we got 13 clicks, so I think we should be all right. But hopefully with the longer instant center, it doesn't want to wheelie, but it definitely wants to plant the tire more. We're gonna take some clicks out of the shock, go up there and try it, and see. I might be wrong. I might go up there and just zip the tire. If it zips the tires off like instantly, it leads me to believe that you are off with your power management on the start line. Either way too much power in the car, or the track just isn't there, or a combination of both. If it pulls off and then something happens, that's your suspension. So that's how I feel about everything. And yeah, let's go out there and make a lick. What do you guys say?
Darlington, South Carolina, new home of Nasty Racing, going on top.
CB Towers, John Dock Recovery, all going on the tower.
Yes, sir.
What else you gotta say? What else you gotta say? Tell me.
Want to do some storm work once hurricane season hits? Ask my boy Chris here. What do you think about pay? Pretty fair?
Pretty damn good.
How's the work? Simple as that.
Easy work, man.
Easy. Color to color.
Easiest shit I've ever done.
Yeah, damn right. Hey, easiest shit for the best pay, right?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Would you look at that? I don't know how to do a burnout. It's so crazy. Actually, if the converter is full of fluid, it acts completely different. It is so much tighter that it literally doesn't even let the RPM of the car flash up high enough to spin the tires doing burnouts the way I was doing them. So literally for the rest of this time, I'm literally in there just laying on the throttle, 100% TPS, dragging the brakes, trying to get it to brake traction, because this converter, it is just like pulling down like 3,000 RPMs before. It flash up to like 4,500, spin the tires. It's a completely different car.
No, I think it's spicy, ain't it?
I can't fucking hear shit.
I think it thing got spicy.
It's like you stuffed 2 Hondas in a damn
right.
3rd gen.
You ain't lying.
Jesus Christ.
I don't know. Either the shock is extremely too tight for the bar angle. I can't imagine that the bar angle wouldn't work because we didn't take that much bite out of it. But when we
Maybe that boost leak was. You think maybe
I gotta look at the data. Dude, it acted way different in the burnout. Took longer to get on the 2-step. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it did.
And that's odd. You think the boost leak would have done the opposite?
Yeah.
I gotta look at the data and see. I don't know. It's just like sometimes. Remember?
Yeah, we just need to look.
Yeah.
Did you turn the tilt camera on?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on foot, man.
If it don't go down, like it don't even try to separate, come back, change bar angle. Put 14 clicks in the shock. Put the whole tune-up in. Or
Then Fearless Fly in his jet, go get the
soft valve packs. What a time to not have the soft valve packs. I think it will work.
No point in putting it back.
For what?
I don't think there's any point.
So what, do we
putting it back.
just hang out then?
load up, go to the house.
Dude, I keep doing this. I'm gonna get fired. I'm gonna bring another tuner and driver in.
I'm here. Hey, I bet if we put Chris in there, that bitch go down.
Hey,
I bet he'll get it down.
new
I might
driver,
go down, man. I got trash control
new
right
driver
right
added
there.
to the fleet. Tell them, what are you gonna do? You gonna bust their ass?
Hell yeah.
Yeah?
I do have my fire suit.
Come on with it. Tell you what, it takes 10 minutes to get strapped into that seat, but once you're in there, man, it feels good.
video of the, you know, real flame, not the Lego block
There you go.
screenshot.
I can't hear shit.
Well, guys, we struggle again.
Hey, we're gonna figure it out though.
We win as a team, we lose as a team, we struggle as a team. But right now, we just freaking stank. Made a bar angle change. That's really the only difference. Oh yeah, filled the transmission up. Somehow ended up being 4 quarts low. We think that's what our problem is right now. And we need to knock 20 degrees back out of it again, and try to crawl before we can run.
Dude.
Hey, it left.
It left.
Got it home.
God damn. Oh. God bless.
Did you see when the power came in? When the power came in, it went, hey!
Yeah.
Well, 20 degrees, so we'll roll it off the start line. The bar angle will separate. I don't think there's anything. It still shook the tires when it topped the shock out, but I think what happened was
The power came in so good.
yeah, like I felt it. I'm sure you probably felt it.
I watched it. It looked beautiful.
So
when it left, it looked beautiful. It did exactly what we wanted to do.
But I think we just have the wrong valve pack in it.
Yes.
Like,
So listen, I'm telling you, it started to separate, and it separated at a really progressive rate. Looked really good. And then all of a sudden, you heard the motor come on. You heard that thing come on, and as soon as it came on, I went, what?
yeah, no, it definitely felt like. But it's kind of like one of those things where you, if you're more consistent with the power, like the start line,
Yes,
like
yeah.
it'll work right. Maybe we were just like way off with the power.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, dude. Obviously, the converter is
Tight.
yeah. Before it wasn't as tight because it was low on fluid. But all right, listen. We go small victories. We got the burnout way better than the burnout. We cleaned up the fuel in there. It seems to get on the brake okay, pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
It still comes off a little bit on the 3-step, but I think that's because the converter's now tighter.
Yeah.
Car drove straight though.
It did drive straight?
Yeah, it drove
Like,
straight,
really
but then
good?
it rattled the tires.
Well,
So I think like that one flat it turned in the top right bar is all it needs. But like I'm just like kind of all of the data we had before when the transmission was low on fluid and the converter was acting up literally throws all that data is useless because the reason why I don't think it pulled off before is when my timing retard because I couldn't get the G meter up, I had the first
you had that
2/10.
spike in it.
Yeah, I had that first 2/10 where I didn't have any timing out of it, trying to get it going. Where I think now the converter has fluid and it's tight.
And this thing makes enough power that it doesn't.
Yeah. So I think like obviously I pulled an absurd amount of timing out of it. I think like less, but hey, we'll see if it made more boost.
Yeah.
With the boost leak, dude, we had the shit was just a mess before with the converter being jacked up, and it was a miracle we were going down track consistently.
Actually, going down, that was what was getting us down track.
Yes. Yeah.
Actually. So.
Dude, what a fucking night.
Hey,
Holy
it's alright.
shit.
Hey, we go out and private test from what we know now. I can't wait. I want to.